Oh, hey, okay. Oh, you dragged me. All right, there we go. Okay. I was like, what happened? It skipped me to the join voice in the disagreement channel. Hello. There we go. I think now it's all right. Pretty good. How are you doing? Happy New Year, man. You said you wanted to debate some conservatards about Jan 6, and I'm open to having my mind changed about it. So, yeah, we could talk about it.
All right. Well, um, yeah, I guess so. Here, this is the running argument that I'm using is that I believe that Donald Trump's goal was to essentially coup the United States. I think he did it by trying to bully a bunch of different election officials into changing their election outcome. I think that he tried to use a whole fake elector strategy where he was submitting fake electors to certify like an incorrect electoral college vote. And I think he tried to get Vice President Pence to unilaterally throw back the election so that he'd be
I'd
declared
agree
the
with you
winner.
on the latter point, the final point, completely. That did seem to be what that was. However, I would have some contentions with the previous points because I think that was when it came down to Pence, that was Trump like looking for any way out at the end of it, you know. Um, the other points, though, I would say I think you need to evidence them pretty severely, and I don't have while you're tweet. I'm like, hey, you know, talk about it because I'm willing to have my mind changed on this. Um, I would need to see evidence that, and I think that unfortunately the evidence you're going to have to provide is solipsistic. You need to provide me with evidence that you can know what's going on inside of Trump's brain, which is not necessarily difficult because I think we can probably figure out what's going on reasonably. But it's difficult to say that, for example, he's actually not been officially, you know, impeached. They tried twice, but he's not been impeached. He's gone through impeachment proceedings twice, but he has not been impeached. So if the courts couldn't provide the evidence for it, then I think you have to start going into solipsism and going into what you think is going on inside of Trump's head, and that I think is a difficult contention.
So so he was impeached twice, but we're not talking about the impeachments here. That's not something I'm looking at right now. For the congressional stuff, I'm just looking at conduct on January 6th, reportings from the January 6th Select Committee, and then all of the information contained in the indictments for Trump's behavior leading up to and around that.
Sure. So what would you say is? So your contention is you don't think that he should be allowed to run again, correct?
Not even that. I'm just looking at like, do I think he tried to coup the election? I don't think he should be allowed to run again, but I think that's a secondary.
Let's just look at that. That he tried to coup the election. Okay, we'll just focus on that. What is your evidence for? Because his speech, he said, "Go and peacefully protest." That's what he said. Yes.
Well, he also said fight like hell, but.
Well, that again. This is solipsistic. I think that's putting a lot of meaning in there. That when you know for a fact that I can pull out dozens of examples of Democrats saying "go and fight like hell" in elections.
Sure. And if they said that, I'd say that it would be wrong too. But I'm not looking at every Democrat right now. I'm just looking at Donald Trump's conduct and what his goal was to overturn the election.
Is it not in the case of when we're talking about politics in the sense that fight doesn't necessarily mean, as many Democrats have used the word fight in terms of fighting electoral, to go get votes out, that is colloquially used not as a physical fight.
Maybe none of my stuff is relying heavily on just that speech though.
Okay. Well, then what would it be on if it's Trump's own words?
So the first prong is him trying to bully state election officials to flip their election results. I think as Trump was losing court case after court case, Trump was making phone calls. The most famous one was to Raffensperger in Georgia,
yes,
where he was making claims that he knew he should have known at that point were false, over and over and over again to try to say that, like, listen, all of this is rigged, it's not fair. Even though he was losing all these cases in court, even though he had no good reason to believe these things, in an effort to get these state officials to change their election results, which I would argue is defrauding the people of those states out of their rightful vote.
Unfortunately, I have to do the whataboutism, though, because the Democrats have done that as well in previous elections. They did that.
Well, the Democrats might have, but for the very first thing, so then do you agree that Trump did it? And now we want to see if Democrats did it? Or
Yeah, of course he did it.
Okay,
because
so-
he believed,
so if Trump did it-
But if he believed, and if anyone believes that there is problems with the election, then I do believe also, whether they're Democrat, Republican, I don't care. If you think there are issues with the counting of votes, then I don't care what side it is. They should seek out to investigate the legitimacy of that election.
Yeah, but the problem was he did seek out to investigate. All of his investigations came back with all of the investigators telling him there was nothing. And then he tried to get remedy in the courts, and all the courts said there was nothing. Do you think you
Which
should
is
be allowed
resolved.
to infinitely disrupt the election process if everybody's telling you that everything you're looking for is not happening?
That's legal. That's how the law works. Yeah, you should be able to do it instantly, and until you get put with a
Well, to be
that you
clear,
can't
it's not
keep
legal.
filing.
You can't make knowingly false statements to get people to contravene people's rights.
How do you know? How do you know? So knowingly false means that you are presuming, and this is the legalistic term, that he must also know
Yep.
that it's a false statement.
Correct.
And that's a difficult thing. And that's a difficult thing to prove.
No, it's
does
not.
Trump know it? Does Trump know it's false? That's
Well,
where
you-
I think it does get difficult to prove.
Well,
Does
you
Trump know
acknowledge
it's
that
false?
in the U.S. criminal court system, we prove people's state of mind all the time. That's necessary for a
Sure.
lot of criminal
Sure,
convictions, right?
sure.
So I think the proof to speak to Donald Trump's state of mind would be that he trusted people to do investigations into the election, and he asked these people to do investigations, and all of these people that he asked over and over again kept telling him, hey, this isn't true. Hey, this is false. Hey, we looked into this. There's nothing. I think that if Trump is requesting information from these people, he obviously trusts them to some extent to do the investigations. If he's made these same requests to all of these people and all of them are telling the same thing, I think it's pretty obvious that he knows that there's probably nothing here. And
Are
if
you
he's
sure?
yes,
I think that's a big leap in logic to make, because and this is just like I'm a libertarian. You've been on my show once before. I've been on yours before when I was drunk and high, but I'm not this time. What I would say is that I don't trust people to tell the truth on these kinds of things. Even Trump's personal confidants have betrayed him in the past. So I would very openly have done so. So because someone says something doesn't necessarily make it true. Truth is evidenced via data, not via someone's. Now, yes, in the court of law, of course, someone's testimony does matter. It does, obviously. But I think that why would you request that the data be looked over so that it can be examined? The same thing that was done in the 2000 election, for example, with George Bush, right?
well, hold on, wait. To be clear, so before I go to anything else,
Sure.
so Trump asked people to investigate. They investigated. They said we found nothing. Trump continued to repeat the exact same claims that had been investigated
As
and
did Al
turned up
Gore.
nothing. What?
As did Al Gore.
We're not looking at the Gore Bush stuff. We can go to that later if
I
you
know,
want.
but,
okay?
but what I'm saying is that why is hang on? I think that actually is prescient here, because why is Al Gore not being put under on all of these charges the way that Trump is? If we're going to treat the law equally, as it
What
should
should
be
well
applied
what
equally
what
to
did
all
how did he break the law? What law did he break?
people. I don't think he broke. I don't think either one of them broke the law.
Well,
That's
Trump
my-
is being
my-
charged with breaking laws, though. For
But
instance,
what law has he broken?
well, it depends on which case we're looking
14th
at.
Amendment,
For
right?
the
Or not 14th,
no,
15th.
for the well, it depends on what court case we're looking
14
at.
would be different.
But for the Jack Smith indictment, right? He's being accused of essentially defrauding the American public, right? That he's trying to contravene the right to vote by telling lies and to engage in a conspiracy, essentially to
How is he contravening the right to vote versus what's happened in Colorado and Maine recently?
because Colorado and Maine's rulings are attempting to adhere to the laws on the books, to the 14th Amendment.
Of removing your capacity, the voter's capacity to vote for anyone but one party.
No, by disqualifying somebody based on a qualifier to run for president. For instance, your age is a qualifier, or being a naturalized
Sure.
or in the United States citizen is a qualifier, or yeah.
Sure, and I would agree with that, obviously. But the difference is that if Trump is made the GOP the nominee, which he will be, that's inevitable, and they've already disqualified him from the vote, it means that the presidential election of 2024 will inevitably mean that there's a one-party state vote or one-party vote.
Well, why would
There's
you
no
nominate
option for you.
somebody who's disqualified from running for president?
why do they disqualify him in these states?
Well, the disqualification argument comes from Section 3 of the 14th Amendment that says that if you're a prior oath taker in the United States and you engage in insurrection, that you're not allowed to hold
Did
office.
you know you
So
can
we have
limit
to then
Steam
prove that
games
it was
max
an insur- that he
FPS with
engaged in
one
insurrection. This
command?
goes back to the Civil War, right? We
Open
know
up
where this
Steam, go to
amendment comes from.
library,
Sure.
and
That's the
find
argument that
game
I'm making
you
right
want
now,
to
though. The
limit
question of
FPS.
whether Trump asking the
Right-click
vice
on that
president
game
to change
and
the election
select
results, or whether they
properties.
file
Under
false
General
electors in
tab,
7
you will
states
see
in order
launch
to misrepresent
options.
the electoral votes
Enter
of those
this
states,
command,
or for Trump
plus
pressuring election officials
FPS
using
underscore
knowingly lying
max,
to them in order
and
to get
then
them to change their vote.
select your
These are all part of
desired
a
max
attempt
FPS.
to, coup the
For
government.
more, enter this
I
command,
would agree with you on
plus
the Pence thing.
FPS underscore max, and then select your desired max FPS. For more gaming tips and tricks, subscribe and join me on my YouTube channel.
that one has always rubbed
Well,
me
if you agree with
very
me on the
much
Pence
wrong
thing,
way.
isn't that on its own then enough to say that he
No,
was engaged
I would
in?
not say it's enough in and of itself. I need more evidence than that to show that it was an intentional attempt at insurrection, which is what we're trying to prove here, right? In order for this to count in the 14th Amendment, that Trump cannot be allowed to run because he engaged in insurrection, I think you need a really strong amount of evidence for that.
Well, you just said that you wait, evidence for not like multiple attempts. It's engaged in insurrection or rebellion. You don't think that trying to get the vice president of the United States to unilaterally change the election result doesn't count as either of those, or?
I think that what he was trying to get Pence to do, and this is my opinion, but I do think that, and again, you can have different opinions on this because this is also again solipsistic. Was he?
Wait, why do you keep saying solipsistic?
That means mind reading.
I understand, but like you keep saying that like you have to ascertain intent all the time in U.S. criminal courts.
Yes.
There's nothing novel about this. We always do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So go.
But that's my point, is that you're going to have to figure out what did he mean with what he said to Pence. Did he mean to tell Pence to just overturn the election without any concern? Or did he mean to tell him to recheck the votes, to actually like check
He didn't
this?
tell him to recheck the votes. He told them that, and he tweeted as much.
Did
And
he
he,
find them? I saw that, yes. And it does look that way.
yeah,
However,
and when he
I'm
told him
not
to do it,
sure
and Pence
what
said he
his
can't,
intent was.
Trump says to Pence, "You're too honest." I mean, what do we think Trump means?
I mean, sure. I told you I'm here to have my mind changed. I don't talk to you unless I'm willing to have my mind changed.
Yeah, I understand. I feel like the vice president stuff alone, if we believe that that was like a rebellion or insurrection attempt to try to get the vice president to change the outcome of the election on his own, like it's pretty obvious he wasn't trying to do this in any legal way. There's a reason why Pence rejected it.
Well, I also think Pence is disloyal. But however,
Pence is disloyal. Wait, disloyal to what?
Disloyal to Trump.
What is Pence supposed to be loyal to?
Well, I mean, I think he should be loyal to the American people first and foremost.
Nope.
And I think that's where you're. Yes, he should be loyal to the
Nope,
American people.
absolutely
first and
not.
foremost.
Your first and foremost loyalty is to the United States Constitution. That's what you swear an oath to. It's the U.S. Constitution, right?
Which is made by the American people.
Sure, that's fine. But I'm just saying that the Constitution is what you
So
swear an
I
oath
think
to. So
we're splitting
Trump.
hairs. We're splitting hairs.
Sure, maybe. Well, no, because if you could say like, well, if the people wanted Trump, he should have been loyal to the people. But you're not loyal not to the people; it's to the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution says you can't do something, and Pence says I'm not doing it, and that's what he cited the whole time, and he was most likely correct. He can't do that. I don't know how we would say that Pence is disloyal. I would argue Pence was incredibly loyal. He was loyal to the oath that he took to serve the U.S. Constitution.
Maybe. I have to think about that. I'm not sure about that one. U.S. Constitution by the letter. Yes, that's probably accurate. At the same time, I think you also have loyalty to people who you sworn personal loyalty to. Now, I'm a monarchist, so I might use words.
Sure, you don't swear loyalty or fealty to the President of the United States.
I think
Always.
we should.
That's great, but we don't. That's not the system
I
we
know,
live
but
under.
that's my That's my
Sure.
perspective. I do think that Trump or that Pence was a little disloyal to Trump from my perspective. That being said, I also think, as I said, I agree with that Trump kind of like pressuring Pence to certify or decertify states that's the worst and the most egregious evidence that you can say that Trump engaged in insurrection.
What about when Trump and his friends all got a group of electors in 7 different states to all falsely claim that they were the state's duly chosen electors, that they had convened courthouses that they didn't, or state houses that they didn't, and then to transmit those electoral votes to Congress to try to cause confusion and hope that Congress would choose their votes instead of the actual electoral votes? You don't think that's kind of like...
I mean, that was scuffed as well. Oh,
Not scuffed. No, not scuffed.
No,
that was
it's fucked. It's beyond fucked. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to.
That's fine, yeah.
downplay it. I agree.
But then why not? Then when he
I think
calls
you're looking
when he calls election officials and he says like, "Hey guys, I need you to change the vote. We just need to find these votes," and he's repeating claims that every single person
Did say
around him
that.
has said are false.
He did say that. He said we need to find the votes, and I completely agree that looks terrible on him. What? Okay, so let's. I actually do not. I'm not one of these like people who totally goes hard against 2020 necessarily being legitimate, because I think that 2020 probably was legitimate. I think for a bunch of psychological reasons it was legitimate. Why people voted for Joe Biden over Trump, because it was nailed into their heads for 4 years that Trump was Satan. And I actually think that 2020 election probably was legitimate. What I don't think is part of this attempt to make Trump successful. If Trump did all these things, which need to be proven, and he has said them. We have evidence that he said it. That might be able to disqualify him. the
Well, to be clear, I'm not even at the
order-
disqualification part yet. I'm
Right.
trying to get to the coup part right
Right,
now.
let's get to that.
Yeah.
Right, so that part, I would say, yeah, I think that's really, really bad stuff. That looks horrible on him in terms of with Pence and in terms of the electors. That makes him look guilty as sin. The part I don't agree with is that he incited the insurrection or that it was an insurrection on January 6th. That's the part where I hold my contentions.
Okay.
I
What
don't
were all
really-
the people there for?
Well, my mom was there, my aunt was there, a bunch
Yeah,
of my
why did
family
they
members
go?
were there. Because they supported Trump. They
Exactly.
didn't
So
go-
Trump called
do-
the people there. Number one, we agree with that, right?
But did they go there to...
We're not there yet. I'm just saying, like, why were the people there? They were all there because Trump wanted them to be there. Right? Okay. So
Sure.
number one, they went. Okay.
Agreed.
So where did Trump send them after his speech? Where did he say to go?
He said go to the Capitol.
Yeah. And
Your
when they
voice
went to
is
the
heard.
and to make your voices heard and to encourage Pence to do the right thing, what were they protesting at the Capitol?
I think they... What do you want them to do? And this is...
I want them to follow
I-
legal processes in the United States to seek remedy for injury. That's what I
Did
want
you-
them to do.
But do you think the actual intent of this rabble, of this mob, let's call them a mob, I'm fine with that terminology, this mob of people who have been emotionally invested, was to actually overthrow the government?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually what they thought they were going to do.
When they were chanting 1776, what were they referring to?
Well, I mean, obviously revolution, but...
Wait,
I don't
revolution?
think-
Revolution of what? Against the government. That's what revolution is, right?
government, yes.
Yeah. So if they
However-
went down
however-
there and Trump was tweeting out that Pence can overturn the election, and he sent all these people down to the Capitol, and they all marched down there saying 1776, what are they going down there to do?
I thought that it was to make their voices heard, to make it shown that this is that we the people stand for something. I don't
Stand
think
for
it was
what?
The contention is that the point was they were going to overthrow and usurp the government. Do you think that these random people in their stupid little Viking hats had any capacity to do that?
No, they were relying on Trump to do it, which is what he tried to do.
I just find that I think that it was a manifestation and a physical representation of the American liberty spirit, right? I don't think it was actually.
But it
meant
wasn't
to
the
overthrow
American liberty.
government.
Hold on. To be clear, it wasn't American
Sure.
liberty. It was anti-American rebellion and treason. None of this was American. Protesting the certification of an election and chanting for the vice president to be
Oh.
hung because the president of the United States told the vice president to unilaterally change the vote is about as anti-liberty or anti-American as you can get. So I don't know how you can say there's a manifestation of liberty of the American spirit. In
I
what
would
sense?
fundamentally disagree with that.
Fundamentally disagree with
because-
which part?
That it was not a manifestation of liberty. Because if the people believe, now here's the thing, you can disagree and you can say the people are wrong, but if the people believe that their rights are being trampled upon, that's what they believe. And it doesn't matter who incited it at the end of the day. I mean, maybe it does, we can disagree that we covered that a little bit. But if the people believe their rights are being trampled upon, then they're trying to restore what they believe is their liberty, their rights, their freedoms. Then yes, that's what I think that a lot of people with Jan 6 were trying to do. They thought that the election had been stolen from them. They thought that their rights and liberties were being trampled upon. And
Wouldn't
they
this
were
argument
trying
mean
to
that
restore
literally every single protest or demonstration then is a manifestation of liberty? Was all of BLM rioting and protesting a manifestation of liberty because they
I
thought?
think much of it was. Not all of it.
Okay, I mean you can say that, but then now we've like reduced this to meaninglessness. If everybody's protesting thinks they're in the right, well, of course. But the reality is the people that were protesting the certification of the vote. That's part of our democratic process. So sometimes people we don't like win and we certify the vote. You can't just protest because you lose an election because you think your rights are being taken from you. And now
I think you can protest if you think that there are serious issues with the election, which at that time on January 6th, the entirety of the evidence had not come out yet, right? We hadn't had these investigations, so it was
They had been
instantaneous.
investigated to Trump. That's what I'm saying. Trump incited it. I don't necessarily hold people there as responsible, but Trump definitely incited them to go there. It's Trump's fault that they were there. He said the reason why all those people were there was because Trump called them to, and he sent them to the Capitol to go and protest. Now went down there screaming 1776.
I think they're allowed to be there in protest. By the way, I think they should have been. I don't think anyone should have been arrested if they didn't. The guy who shit on Nancy Pelosi's desk, yeah, arrest him. Okay, whatever. You know, people.
Well, if you're in the Capitol
stole
building, you're not
things.
allowed to be there. If you're crossing barricades and you're
But
trespassing.
you are allowed to be there. It's the people's house. And
It's not. Hold on.
the
It's not
cops-
the people's
No,
house.
but
You're
you
not
also
allowed
know
to be in the Capitol when there are barricades up and they tell you you cannot come in.
But you
don't-
also know that the cops allowed them in.
The cops
We've
didn't
seen
allow
the
them in.
footage.
We've seen the footage.
they
They
did.
broke in. Wait,
No, they-
oh, wait. Was
okay.
where was the first breach? Was it the cops letting them in? The second or third or
They were-
fourth breach? Was it the cops letting them in? The only time
You're
cops
right.
were moving
You're right.
barricades is when they were already completely breached on both sides and they were retreating back up
yes.
to more defensible positions. Yeah.
I agree. So, but hang on. So people start breaking in.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's true. first people start breaking in. That's true. Then the cops start opening the barricades and letting people in.
The cops were retreating to more defensible positions because they were
Defense-
overwhelmed.
Have you? But Destiny, I know you've seen the footage of them standing there and actually walking the people through.
Yes,
you have to
I've seen the
this.
Tucker Carlson videos. There are a
But
couple
you
videos
have-
of them
you think that
walking.
you-
Hold on, real quick, before I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Sure.
the videos of them fighting with, screaming
Yes.
at, pushing, shoving, breaking
Absolutely.
open windows, breaking down doors, flooding? You've seen those videos, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I have.
so if you've
Yes.
seen those videos, and then you've also seen videos of cops that sometimes lead people through to other cops, what is the implication here? Do you think that some of them are being led through and a whole bunch of them are being violent, or what is the implication?
I'm very curious though about why were they. So you're okay. Hang on, I have to try and process this. Your contention is that the police were afraid, so they were acquiescing to the mob. That's why they let them through.
No, the statements that the police have made, that's true of every single large riot or mob control unit ever, is sometimes you don't fight every single person at every single doorway. Sometimes you lead them into easier to control areas. There was videos of some guys being led into like the Senate chambers where they were locked in. Or there were videos of that black police officer going up the stairs and pushing the one dude and leading him up to 4 or 5 other cops, rather than expecting one cop to try to fight off a whole mob at a doorway. Yeah, that's what
It
happened in
seems
every
to
single
me-
one of these videos. In every
It seems
single
to
one
me
of these
that-
videos, yeah.
It just seems to me that it would be an more easily defensible position to fire tear gas onto the crowd, which they did as well, rather than allow them into the building where they were able to walk through cordoned
Hold on.
hallways.
How did they first get into the building? They broke in. They
But
were already
some
in
of
the
them
building.
Did. Some of them did. Some of them didn't. Some of them were. Again, they opened the doors and walked them through. They walked
After
through
the after the
cordons.
Capitol had already been breached.
Okay. So
They're not. They
let's-
can't fight. They don't have the manpower. Do you acknowledge they don't have the manpower to fight off that crowd with the people they had available to them?
Those
right?
people did not have guns. People in the crowd did not have guns.
First
The
of all,
police
people
had
in the
guns.
crowd probably did have guns. Number one.
Maybe.
Number
but were
two,
any of them
but number
used, so
two,
we don't have any evidence for that.
Well, the evidence we
That's-
have
we
is
don't have
that
any evidence for that.
the evidence we have is that when Donald Trump was giving his speech, there were people with guns outside that weren't allowed in because the Secret Service wouldn't let them in. And Trump is on record saying, "Let them in. They're my people. They're cool. They're not going to shoot me. Let them in." And he sent that same crowd of people marching over to the White House. So we know at the very least there were guns at his.
Did he say that? There's evidence. I've not
Yep.
seen that Trump said specifically, "Let them in."
Yep. To his
Okay.
speech, led them into his speech, where he was giving the speech before he sent everybody over to the Capitol building.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, that Trump
I know the part
knew
you're
that they
talking
were fired. Okay, so number one.
All right.
Number two, I understand they have guns, but you understand that like police officers can't just start shooting into crowds of people. That would be like mayhem, right?
Well, I mean, they did.
No, they didn't.
They shot Ashley Babbitt in the throat.
They shot one person that was trying to climb through a door that was like a last stand area, yes, but that's not shooting into crowds of people, right?
I'm just saying that it's. They
Hold on. Do you
did have
understand that
firearms,
your
and
your
they did
wait,
they did utilize the
to be
weapons
clear,
kill some people.
No.
Ew.
It was one person.
did.
Your initial claim was that they should have shot the crowds outside instead of retreating to more
no,
defensible
no.
positions. My claim is that they did retreat. Yeah, and sometimes doors open or barricades
Actually
move.
didn't make that
But
claim.
they retreated all the way back to where they were at last stand mode. And then yes, when one crazy woman tried to climb through the door after being screamed down not to, she got shot. Yes.
But then they let other people into the. Okay, first of all, hang on. Let's go back. Let's calm down. Let's go back. I did not claim that they should have shot the people. I said tear gas, which they did
which they used,
also.
which didn't work.
Which they used.
Yep.
And didn't work. It's correct. Is that you should use non-lethal force. With Ashley Babbitt at the door, I don't know the actual order of events, and maybe you do, and I don't. Was Ashley Babbitt shot before or after they started letting people walk through the building? I don't know the
hold on.
order of events on
It's
that.
a big building. Just because
Yes,
people were
it's
walking
huge.
through some parts of the building doesn't mean they were being escorted to lawmakers. That never happened.
No,
The
they were
area that
never
Ashley
escorted to, they were let into the building, and you can see the footage of them just walking peacefully in between the cordons.
not where the lawmakers were. Never. The area that Ashley Babbitt
no.
was trying to crawl into. Wait, do you disagree with that? Do you think they were being escorted to lawmakers?
No, they weren't.
Okay.
I agree.
The
No, I
area
agree
that
with you.
Ashley
I'm saying, I'm
Babbitt
agreeing
was
with you.
sure, the area that Ashley Babbitt was trying to crawl into was not an area where protesters were. That's why there were multiple Secret Service people, I believe it's Secret Service, or Metropolitan Police that were there with guns telling her, "Don't come
Okay.
through, don't come through," and then she tried to break through and they shot her.
Yeah. Well, okay, so these are different areas. And again, this is part of the problem is that a lot of this gets confused in that it's difficult to sometimes parse what happened where. And
Well, hold on, wait. Just to be clear, it's not. There's footage and everything available for all of it. The only difficulty is when
Right,
people
right.
try to confuse or mislead for what happened. If you have a question about anything I'm saying, I can point you to evidence, or I can explain exactly
I'm
what's happening at
trusting
all
you.
points in time from 2 o'clock to 6:30 when this whole thing's happening. None of this is confusing. It's only confusing when other
Well-
people try to make it confusing.
And I'm trusting your judgment. I'm trusting that you're telling me the truth here. So I'm not. These are things that I know, and maybe my knowledge is incorrect, and it's certainly incomplete. But because I think that most people's knowledge is incomplete. But if you say that you know exactly where Ashley Babbitt was versus where the other people who were walking through the portons was, then okay, I'll take your best judgment on that. I just find it to be it looks from an outsider perspective, and I think you could probably try to understand why it looks to outsiders really suspicious. All of it. It looks very strange to people who
Well,
are just looking at this.
No, literally none of it looks
As
suspicious.
observers?
All of it is like super easy to understand and follow the entire time. What part looks suspicious or strange?
The Capitol Police waving people into the building looks weird.
Every single riot that we saw for the BLM stuff never involved huge groups of cops shooting and killing all the protesters. It always involved cops shepherding or herding or cordoning off people into other. That's riot like tactics 101. You don't start fighting the crowd.
That seems.
That seems what? Hold on. Do you think that what I just said is not true? This is riot.
No.
I can bring in riot police if you
Hang
want to talk
on,
about. This is
hang on.
riot police
No,
101. Yeah.
You're right. I remember seeing that, and I think in Oregon, when a bunch of those riots, they did this stuff. I remember seeing the exact same stuff. Yes, it's true. On that section. However, I also saw a bunch of riot shields set up and a bunch more tear gas being used. So I find a little bit suspicious. However, it also, I would agree, it's not completely unheard of for this to happen, because I've seen it in Oregon, and I think in Portland they did this. At least I've seen the footage similarly when there was a BLM thing in Portland.
So
where they went
here's
and
a
stormed the Capitol.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, like, we can run this down. We can do this live if you want. Also, I'd totally welcome this. If we were to go through footage of the J6 stuff, and you were to look at what the front lines of that riot looked like, do you think there was ever a point there where police were going to stop those people from getting into the Capitol building?
I think if the police wanted to, yeah, they absolutely could have, but would they? And that was your contention, which I agree with. They probably would not want to because, well, you know how that would play out. We all know how that would play out. If the police open fire, it's Waco. It's that's a forever.
So when there were like dozens of Capitol Police outside staring down a crowd of 100,000 people, you think that their defense of the Capitol should have been them shooting into the crowd with their pistols?
No, I don't.
So then what else should they have done? Probably retreat back to the building, to more defensible areas.
Cheers, mate. Slam dancers. Must have lots of these upon Olympus. Why, it's the Barge of Death. Revelry? People having a good time? Well, sure then.
Hey, there's...
Leave it to the god of wine to liven things up around here. Skull crushers. Centaurs.
I don't think allow people into the building should have been the response. Only because of the implication that it has post facto created, right? I don't know what they were. I don't know the right answer. I don't know the right response because I'm not a police officer, okay? But I
when
do
the only
know-
places where the doors, actually, and I'm not even sure if were any outside doors even open, or was this just them leading them through the inside of the building?
they led them through the building, and okay, so let's put it this way. I don't know what the correct response is, but I know that waving them through is a bad look. Let's put it that way. Let's just say that it's
Okay,
it's
but let's
nothing
let's
but
let's
just
pretend for
optics,
sure,
just
but let's
optics.
pretend for 1 second that we're more than just like hyper partisan people, and we're just trying to like use our brains. Instead of just saying that like it's a bad look, what was the alternative?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, hold on, because we're saying that this was bad, so we should be able to conceive of like one alternative. Because I can tell you one alternative that would make them look worse, and that's shooting and killing protesters outside.
Yes.
So we
yes,
agreed they
that
shouldn't have
would
shot
be-
and killed
yes.
them. Okay, so we
Yes,
agreed they shot and
we
killed
agree on
them.
that one.
We also agreed that they
Don't do
couldn't
that,
hold the
please.
line. That like 6 cops against like 1,000 people, so they couldn't shoot them. They couldn't hold the line. So what else should they have done? Because the cops that tried to hold were being crushed at the doors and were screaming, or were pulled into the crowd and tased. Well, like what are the other alternatives?
Yeah, hopefully. I guess, like I said, this is why I talk to you, Dustin. I'm
Sure.
interested in your takes because we're a rare number of people. Yeah, I don't know what they were supposed to do, though, I suppose. I think that they're shoot more tear gas would have been my response, I suppose, but it's 1,000 people. You're right. It's more than it's 10,000 people.
Or 100,000 according to Trump, but yeah.
Right. Well, it's 10,000 people trying to storm it. It's 100,000 people in the mall, but yeah, it's what, something like that. 8,000. Something like that. There's a lot of people there trying to break into the Capitol. I don't think that, but how, going back to that though, can you really blame Trump for inciting that action?
Yeah,
And
of course.
I can't.
Trump sent people to the Capitol to protest the peaceful transfer of power. If there was
Did
anything
he
that I
say
could.
storm the Capitol.
Did he say storm the Capitol? No, but he said we need to go back to the Capitol. We can't let them steal our election. That we hope that Pence does the right thing, and then later he tweeted out that Pence failed us. That's why everybody's outside screaming, hang Pence, hang Pence. Because we need to fight like hell to keep our government. We've been fighting like one boxer with a hand tied behind his back. Like, I mean, what are we going to the Capitol to protest? The only thing happening is the certification of the vote. What else is there to protest besides the government process of certification of the elect? The vote had already happened. We're gonna lose our country, I think is a quote. Friday, we're gonna lose our country.
Yes, that was. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So what does that mean? So are you just gonna go hold up a picket sign while you lose your country?
Well, I mean, that's the Democratic process, isn't it? The work picket sign. And I think that look, I think part of it is that the J6 stuff came after the Summer of Love, right? Where, as you know, it was extremely violent, quote-unquote, protest. People did just break shit down. They broke into buildings, they broke into stores, they ransacked everything. I think that the political climate at the time, and the existing still probably extant political climate, that has made people believe incorrectly that is a legitimate form of protest, is to
Let's say
violate
that
things.
Trump didn't want a riot there. Okay, let's go with
Sure.
that. If that was the
Yeah.
case, then why is it that when so many people went into the office begging him to send in the National Guard earlier, why didn't he respond?
he fucked that up hardcore.
No, he didn't fuck it up. It was intentional. Why is it that when they begged him to tweet and send people home, why didn't he do that? Why did he just ignore people? Even after
He did
Ashley,
tell people. He said he did at one point say to go home though.
Yeah, an hour after Ashley Babbitt had been shot, 3 hours after the riot had begun, and after him, Giuliani, and Eastman had made numerous phone calls to congressmen and senators saying like, hey, maybe you should delay the election. Hey, maybe you should actually slow things down. Doesn't that seem like he kind of wanted the riot to happen, and he was waiting to try to capitalize on it?
Region.
Uh,
Got it.
did Trump want something to happen? Absolutely, that's unquestionable. Trump wanted because he's a narcissist. He
No.
wanted-
Hold on. Not just a narcissist. He was an un-American attempted coup president. He tried to coup the
I
government. He wasn't just
don't
being a
think it's a
narcissist. Okay,
I don't
what is
think
it
it's a
called if you try to subvert the peaceful transfer of power using non-democratic means?
Well, then what would have been called when they accused Trump of being legitimately elected in 2016 because of Russian hackers?
That's your First Amendment right to say Trump is unelected.
But yeah, you can say whatever you want. But I'm saying, like,
No, hold on. You can't say whatever you want. You can't incite a riot. That's against the law. It's illegal to do that.
inciting a riot is against the law, but Trump never said go and riot.
You don't
said
have to say
be
go and
assembled.
riot. The qualifications for that to be a
Kinda do.
crime, no you don't, is you have to send people to an area with the intent of them going to riot. That's what makes it incitement to.
But when you say specifically, which is the exact quote, is peacefully protest. He said the word peacefully.
Peaceful
very
is one word out of an hour-long speech. The rest of that speech is littered
I
with.
think you're gonna be really difficult to prove that in a court of law.
No,
That's
it's
my-
actually it's super not difficult at
Well,
all.
then why has it not been proven yet? After two indictments.
Trump is indicted in
Impeachments, excuse me.
two huge cases. The impeachments were not the criminal proceedings that Jack Smith or the Georgia RICO case are looking at. Either we'll find out, I guess, in the Jack
The
Smith
RICO
case.
case, will be given to one, I think. That'll be the one that actually really pay attention to. The RICO case is the one that probably has the most merit behind it.
I think the Jack Smith case is really strong, and the Florida case is dead to rights. Trump is losing that one 10 at a time. The Mar-a-Lago confidential information case, he's completely done.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's some stuff in there that's. I just don't. I think that it's incidental more than intentional, and I think you have to prove intent.
Well, that's to charge a riot, I agree, but keep in mind, he's not looking at a riot charge. That's not what he's being charged with, right?
Yeah.
He's being charged with trying to defraud the American people by subverting their constitutional rights to have a vote and obstructing a government process, which he absolutely did. And I think we can point to everything around that. He obviously wanted to obstruct the certification of the vote. That's why he sent the rioters down there. That's why he told them to fight like hell. That's why he was tweeting at Pence. That's why he watched it unfold on TV. Ashley Babbitt got shot. He didn't tell anybody to go home. He didn't call in the National Guard. He just sat there and watched it unfold. And all he did was he made calls with Giuliani and Eastman at that time, begging, senators and people in Congress
which
to
is
stop.
fucked up of him.
No. That's not fucked up. It was an attempt to coup the government. It wasn't just fucked up. It was all intentional. It was all an attempt to coup the government.
I really. I think that both people on the left and the right, wherever you fall into the spectrum, have a tendency to think Trump is way smarter than he actually is.
It's not about being
And
smart. It's just what is he doing? None of
I
this is
just don't-
smart.
I don't think he was playing 4D chess. At this
No one is
point. I
saying
don't-
he's playing 4D chess. He sent rioters to the Capitol, and he tried to make phone calls, and he asked Pence to change the vote. Nothing smart about that. You don't have to be a sophisticated actor to
Then
do
the
it.
idea that he was sitting on this. Interesting. He was sitting on. He knew about all this. He was sitting on it.
No, when I say sitting, I mean he was sitting in his room, drinking a Diet Coke, watching it unfold on TV.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't know if he was. I think he was reacting because it's something.
If he was reacting, why wouldn't his reaction be, oh, I'm the person that deploys the National Guard to D.C. Maybe I need to call and find out why that's not happening. As all these people are begging him, Ivanka and Kushner and Meadows and his council and all these other people are calling him. I think McCarthy, calls him and he's like, hey, what's going on here? And Trump's like, I guess the protesters are more mad than you are about the election results, right? Like, what is this all selling us? Trump is mad as fuck. He wants these people to stop certifying the votes so that he can retain his position as president.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Which is a coup.
I don't think that makes it a coup. I think that a coup is a very strong.
Yeah, I agree, but what Trump did was probably the worst thing that any president, save for maybe, I guess, the Civil War, has probably done to the American people in U.S. history.
FDR, like, I think what FDR did was worse. But,
What did FDR do to coup the government?
I think coup the government. Just like,
Not liking FDR is different than did somebody try to
Yeah,
coup the
yeah.
government or subvert the peaceful transfer of power. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's fine. Do I think he intends to try? But that's it comes down always, like I said, when I keep using the results as for a purpose, it's because I think you have to prove intent. And proving intent in the court of law it does happen all the time, but it's very difficult.
It's not.
You're gonna have to. It is.
You can prove it with circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial evidence is circumstantial. You're gonna have to prove intent.
What do you think DNA evidence is? DNA evidence of a crime is circumstantial evidence. A rape kit is circumstantial evidence. What do you mean? You would prove intent all the time. Yeah.
Let me do this way, right? So, I watch true crime stuff all the time because I'm a woman, obviously. So, watching this case case the other day that I had heard about before, where this girl who had been horribly abused by her mother went and hooked up with some dude on the internet, and then they killed her mom together, right? The way that you have to prove intent in that case is that you go through and find all these DMs between them saying, "I want you to kill my mom."
No,
That's a really easy way to prove intent.
You don't need a
I'm just saying
confession.
that's
Yeah, that's a silver bullet, but you don't need a confession to prove intent. That would be an extraordinarily lucky find.
There's only one Heavenly Archer I know of. Well, several, really. Anyway.
I heard about you. Look, I'm not like all the others on Olympus. The power of the hunt helps keep me company, so maybe it'll help you too.
The power of the hunt sounds like good company to keep. Chariots. Okay. There we go. Koranacht, the Heartseeker. Let's deal some death. Psst, over here! What the?
Nice place you got.
I don't remember. If you insist. For you, mate.
For me?
Cheers, mate. Got something new to try. Go with that one. Night and darkness guide me.
you.